Hey guys, Hitman89 here, and welcome to another episode of Versus. Last time we had PS4 versus Xbox One, and some of you guys wanted to see a PC versus console episode, so here it is.
I mean, if you compare the PS4 and the Xbox One, I'm sure this is gonna go really well.
Don't forget to leave a like if you want to support the series.
Nothing like asking for likes before the video starts. Not that that matters anymore because YouTube disabled dislikes. Although you can install this plugin on Chrome to completely restore them. No, I'm serious. You can completely restore dislikes if you just install this extension on Chrome, because that's how half-assed the YouTube update was.
And also, I'm thinking of doing Sekiro versus Dark Souls 3 on the next episode.
Yes. 2 games by From Software, therefore they can be compared 1-to-1.
Let me know what you think. But anyways, back to today's episode, and in order for this to be as fair as possible, we're gonna be comparing a $500 PC, so kinda similar to mine.
Specs, an i7, which i7, a GTX 1060, 16 gigabytes of what? I assume this means 16 gigabytes of RAM, but you just say 16 gigabytes and SSD. Nice. What a comprehensive breakdown of your specs you listed. Also, the video is from February of 2019, just in case that comes up later. I don't think it will, but...
To an Xbox One X, PS4 Pro, or even just a regular PS4 or an Xbox One with an Xbox Live Gold membership or a PS Plus or even an Xbox Game Pass membership, etc.
Wait, so you're only including the memberships if it's not the enhanced console? Why?
So without further ado, we're gonna start today's episode with the most important thing, at least in my opinion, the exclusive games.
Oh, goody. Most important thing is the most subjective thing. Nice.
This obviously depends on everyone's taste, but in my opinion, consoles have better exclusives.
Yep, who saw that coming? Side note that PC has almost every single console exclusive to ever be released. Not that that's gonna come up.
They get better TPS games. Some sports games never come out on PC, but they come out on consoles.
Oh darn, sports games. And those come out on PC now too anyways, so.
And also, if you want to look at specific examples, look at GTA 5. It came out on PS3, I was gonna say PS4, PS3 and Xbox 360, and then it took 2 years to come to PC.
It took like a year and a half actually, and then the PC version was objectively the best version. PC gamers are more than willing to wait for the best version of a game, because we have way more games to play in the meantime.
There's also Red Dead Redemption 2, which will probably never come to PC.
That's awkward.
Also, God of War, Game of the Year 2018, remember that shit?
That's awkward.
Maybe it'll come to the PlayStation Now service in 2 years and you'll be able to play it on PC.
Actually, I'm gonna play it on Steam, assuming I buy it, which I won't, because I don't care.
But by then, you know, it won't be as impressive as it was when it first came out.
Wait, so the game came out and then you have to wait a couple years and now it's not as good? Why would the game not be as good in a couple years as it was when it came out? Isn't that the staple of a not actually very good game? Games like Silent Hill 2 and Resident Evil 4 and Doom 2016, they stand the test of time. They feel just as good now as they did when you first played them. If God of War was good when it came out, but it's not going to be good by the time it comes to PC, that means it wasn't a very good game.
And if you want to talk about upcoming exclusives, there's gonna be Days Gone.
That's awkward.
Ghost of Tsushima.
That's awkward.
Last of Us Part 2.
That's super awkward.
And I guess you noticed that we're only talking about PS4 games. That's obviously because Xbox One games aren't really exclusives. You know, they also come out on PC.
And that's a good thing. Also, in the comments, you say something really telling about your opinion towards exclusives. Someone comments that exclusive games aren't a good way to compare PC and console because it's too subjective. And then you respond, the problem is the best PC exclusives are at least 6 years old. Newsflash, if people are still playing the game 6 years later, that means it's really good. It seems like you're more invested in the hype culture of console exclusives than the actual quality of the games. And that's a problem.
Now on PC, you're mostly gonna be getting first-person shooters.
That is not even remotely true.
Because, you know, playing an FPS with a controller is basically like typing a long-ass text with one hand.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Controllers for first-person shooters suck, but you just said most PC exclusives are first-person shooters. No. Dota, League of Legends, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, all the MOBAs, all the RPGs, all the RTS games, all the turn-based strategy games. Like, yeah, there's a lot of first-person shooters on PC, but there's a lot of everything else on PC. Again, you're talking like someone who's from the outside looking in. You're used to the AAA hype culture of consoles, so you're only focusing on the high-profile, big, explosive shooty games.
It only makes sense if you're fapping, or if you're one-handed, you know, shit happens. But anyways, on PC you also get MMOs, real-time strategy games, simulators, survival games.
Okay, so they're not mostly first-person shooters, by your own admission.
tactical stuff, military, and most VR games only come out on PC, so keep that in mind. So let's name some PC exclusive games. We got Rust, we got DayZ, Quake Champions, Civilization, Total War. Amazing, right?
That is a bizarre list of PC exclusives. You didn't even mention the most popular ones. Again, League of Legends, Dota, Counter-Strike, World of Warcraft. Where did you get this list from?
Well, not really. Thank God we also get the games that also come out on consoles, otherwise there would only be 69 PC gamers in the world. And when it comes to the upcoming PC exclusives, we're gonna be getting Anno 1800 and Age of Empires 4. So console exclusives are a lot better than the PC ones.
This is insane. Like, not only are you talking about a completely subjective point and you're making it objective, but you didn't even bring up the most popular examples of the opposing argument. Like, how desperate were you for this angle?
But there are way more free games on PC. There are tons of free games on Steam, Epic Games Store, and sometimes directly on the game's website. You just create an account, you download the launcher, and you're good to go. Plus, you can download cracked games easily on PC, and that's for those of you who are broke or just cheap. In all seriousness though, not everyone can buy games. And it's not just because they're broke.
Yeah, that's true. If you're trying to game on a budget, the PC has way more options for you. There's way more free-to-play games, there's way cheaper games in general. There's some really great subscription services like Game Pass that can give you a whole bunch of games for not very much money at once. If you're gaming on a budget, PC is the way.
For example, here in Tunisia, most people don't have international credit cards, including myself. So yeah, don't forget to leave a like if you live in a fucked up country like mine. No, but seriously, so we can't buy digital games easily, and when it comes to physical copies, it takes a very long time to find them in shops. And when you find them, they cost a third and sometimes even half a Tunisian salary. So free to play and cracked games are the only two options available to some people. And if you live in a fucked up country, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
This is actually a really good point, and it's something that not enough people really give credence to. The gaming industry is really complicated, especially outside of the US and Europe. Just something to keep in mind next time you start bitching about sales and release schedules and release windows and whatnot. The gaming industry is really dynamic depending on where you are in the world. And as much shit as I'm going to give this guy in this video, this point he makes right here is really, really important. That's why I didn't cut anything.
Anyways, on console you have services. I mean, you have way less free games, that's obvious. But you can have some good subscription-based services like Xbox Game Pass. On PlayStation you have PS Now, which is available on PC too.
So it's not an argument. Both those services are on console and PC, so they're not really arguments for one side or the other.
But we need more stuff like Xbox Game Pass, because you can get games the day they come out. And since we're talking about subscription-based services, did you know that you don't have to pay to play online on PC?
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Amazing, right? I mean, I'm already paying my internet provider for the shitty, slow-ass internet I'm getting, so why would I have to pay Sony or Microsoft just to play online? Well, if you want to play online on console, you have to pay $60 a year.
And again, this is a really good point that he's making. He makes some good and bad points in this video. Don't worry, it gets worse.
Which isn't a lot, I know, but you shouldn't have to pay anything. That's what I'm saying. But some people think it's normal, and it's probably the same people who ask for DLCs, fucking microtransactions and shit like that. That's why a practice like this would never disappear.
I like you now. Let's see how long that lasts.
Now when it comes to graphics and performance, starting with PC, you get 60 FPS, which is fucking priceless.
Or more, question mark?
And if you can't tell the difference between 60 and 30 FPS, let me give you an example. It's like walking and running.
Well, no, actually, it's more like walking with a limp on stilts in sand versus walking forward on like the moving sidewalks at the airport where you feel like a fucking RoboCop walking forward, taking 50 steps forward with every step.
The difference is very fucking noticeable. By the way, don't forget to leave a like if you like my shitty examples.
That is the third time you've asked for likes and we're not even halfway through the video. Like, what?
Anyways, back to the graphics. On PC, your games are gonna look cleaner, sharper, you're gonna get the better draw distance, better textures too. Now on consoles, you're gonna get worse graphics and performance. But on Xbox One X, for example, you can get 4K, which is not always native, obviously, but still, with a $500 PC, you'll never get decent 4K.
I mean, with a $500 console, you weren't going to get decent 4K either. Like, let's be real. Checkerboarded 4K, dynamic 4K, it sucks. It's not real 4K.
Oh, and guys, please don't fight in the comments section, because that shit is fucking retarded, okay?
Ah, yes, listen to my shitty arguments, but don't fight in the comment section. That always works.
And I'm sure I'm gonna see comments like, PC Master Race! Somebody's gonna reply, oh yeah, you got Red Dead Redemption 2?
I mean, yeah, we do, actually. We have a better version of it.
You know, he's got a point. But yeah, the guy's probably gonna reply, I can make Red Dead Redemption 2 run on an emulator on PC.
I mean, yeah, that's also an option, I guess. I'm sure that exists somewhere. Or if it doesn't now, it will.
You're a lying piece of shit, okay? That's not gonna happen anytime soon. So let's not fight in the comments section, please.
Yes, because emulators don't exist, apparently. I know Xbox One and PS4 emulators aren't exactly widespread, but development is happening and a lot of work is being done. A lot of progress is being made on PS4 and Xbox One emulators. And that's important because these games need to be preserved. If it weren't for emulation, games would just not be able to be played after their current console generation, went into the dust.
And since we're talking about emulators, you like the transition? No, but seriously, you can only emulate some weak ass shit. So we're not gonna emulate a PS4 or an Xbox One right now. Maybe in 5 years?
Weak ass shit. You can emulate everything else. And PS4 and Xbox One emulators, again, are being worked on. Also, you can only emulate weak ass shit, but you just can't emulate the current gen of consoles, or current gen when this video came out. Just a really telling attitude you have towards every generation before the current one. And again, with the exclusivity thing and the exclusivity comments you've made, you seem to think games are only good as soon as they come out. So it doesn't surprise me that you view emulation like this. And in 5 years, the games won't be good anymore, right?
But not right now. On the other hand, you can make Nintendo Switch games run almost perfectly on an emulator, because the Nintendo Switch is weak as fuck. And by the way, I have a suggestion, because Microsoft and Sony watch my vids on a regular basis. Everyone knows that. No, but seriously, mouse and keyboard support would be amazing, especially for RTS and FPS games. That would be perfect.
Because there are so many of those on console. Do you ever wonder why that is?
Because just like you can plug a bunch of controllers to your PC, you should be able to plug a mouse and a keyboard to your console and use it in any game.
I'm pretty sure at the time that he made this video, that was already an option.
And I know some PS4 games support that, but it's usually not the ones I like, so whatever.
Some games have this feature, but it's not the games that I want, so the feature isn't real.
Now let's talk about something that's very important to me. It's that on PC you can edit videos, you can type some text, you can do your job, you can do tons of things. So whether you're a YouTuber, student, or even a drug dealer, you're gonna need a PC.
That took a turn.
That did take a turn.
I don't know about the drug dealer part, but with great power comes great responsibility.
Ah, yes, like Batman.
So on PC you're gonna get a lot of issues, like driver related issues, compatibility, viruses, blue screen of death.
Because the console has no technical problems at all. The console doesn't break, the console doesn't hard crash, the console doesn't have compatibility problems. Nah, those don't exist. Those aren't real.
Now keep in mind you can install Linux on PS4 and use your PS4 as a PC. You can even run PC games, which is important. You can run PC games that aren't demanding at all, so you can do that through Steam, for example. But like I said, you have to run super old games, otherwise your game's gonna run like shit.
Oh, and old games are bad, right?
And it's gonna look like a slideshow.
I believe the word you're looking for right now is frame rate, which has puzzlingly not really been discussed very much here. You mentioned 30 FPS and 60 FPS for like 2 seconds and then moved on, when that should be one of the biggest arguments against the console.
You can also run emulators and play some N64 games if you want to. I don't know if installing Linux is allowed by Sony or not, so look it up, and if it's allowed, then go for it.
Yeah, here's this great thing you can do with your PS4, but only if it's allowed. I'm so glad that I game on a platform now where I don't have to ask for permission to do something with the hardware I already bought.
Which takes me to the last point, customization. Not only PC is upgradable, but you can also customize the way your games run, so performance, graphics, resolution, shadows, textures, motion blur, all this stuff is preset on console.
The fact that you scrolled by motion blur without turning it off is a little insulting.
But you can customize it on PC, and it's not just the graphics, you can customize the controls too. You can use a controller, you can use the keyboard and mouse combo, you got all kinds of key binding options. You can customize your games as much as you want, and you can also use mods, because the modding community is huge on PC. And now let's finally go to the verdict, and in your case, if you have a shit PC that you can use to edit vids, browse the web, and do all that stuff, if you want to play all the latest games for at least 6 years without having to upgrade anything, if most of your friends are on console and you want to play online with them, if you're not into RTS or survival games and you don't mind playing first-person shooters with a controller, then get yourself a console.
You just listed off a lot of things that I don't actually think are good parameters. Well, let's just work backwards. If you want to play FPS games with a controller, that's not an argument to buy a console. You can buy controllers on PC anyways. If you want to play games with friends, you can do that on PC. You want to play games for more than 6 years without upgrading, you can do that on PC if you really want to. Entry price is obviously going to be a little different, but you're going to get way better performance than the console games will. You're giving yourself a lot of parameters as to why you should get a console, but it's not dawning on you that you can do all of those things and more on the PC.
Now in my case, I have a PS4 and a gaming PC. This way I can play all the games I want, but if I had had to choose between a console and a PC, I'd pick the PC any day of the week.
Which is a little weird given how little you seem to know about this. I don't mean to pick on this guy. I know the video is a little old. February of 2019 is when it came out, so I guess it's not that old. And really none of the arguments he made were dated, aside from the exclusives one. But even then, the difference between the exact exclusives he was mentioning and the sentiment of what he was saying with the exclusives, which I think is the more important argument to dissect. If you're getting into gaming right now, you should get a PC. Yes. Not only is the modern console market fucking terrible, but also PCs are far more future-proof. They are far cheaper in the long run. They have way more features, way more games, way more exclusive games, especially now that all the console exclusives are coming to PC anyways. Just get a PC. There's legitimately almost no reason to buy a console nowadays. I'm gonna go make out with my wife now. Toodles.